Sir, I can make you see again. The room fell silent. At the center of the marble ballroom, lit by chandeliers and echoing with classical music, a little black girl stood out like a drop of ink in milk. She wore an old hoodie with sleeves too short, sneakers taped at the toes, and held nothing but a crumpled paper in her trembling hands. Henry Wallace, the blind billionaire who hosted the annual Wallace Vision Gala, leaned slightly toward her voice. His assistant whispered, "She's just a kid." Wallace smirked behind his tinted glasses. "You can't even read, and you want to fix my eyes?" he said loud enough for the entire room to hear. Laughter burst out from tuxedos and glittering gowns. "She probably thinks tears cure blindness," a guest jeered. Security began walking toward her. "Miss, you need to leave, now." But Arielle held her ground. "Just let me show you something." From her backpack, she pulled out a scroll of yellowed paper, sketched neuron pathways, ocular nerve bypass strategies, and a diagram with the label Wallace Syndrome Experimental Recovery Model. A researcher nearby froze. "That's impossible," he murmured. "This model matches ours, but it's unpublished." The laughter died. A shift stirred in the air. And in that silence, they finally looked at her. Dr. Lyle Nguyen, a young postdoc from Harvard, pushed through the crowd with wide eyes. He snatched the sketch gently from Arielle's hands and examined it. His lips parted, stunned. "This is 95% identical to our lab's unpublished trial from Cambridge. We've only shown this to internal faculty." Henry Wallace furrowed his brows behind his glasses. "Is this a prank?" he asked. Lyle shook his head. "Sir, whoever made this has reverse-engineered a cutting-edge ocular neural bypass. This shouldn't be possible, unless they've read every neuroscience publication from the last decade." Arielle's voice was barely a whisper. "I haven't read them. I learned from discarded medical books, from the alley bins behind Bronx Medical Library." Gasps, scoffs. One man muttered, "This is absurd." Another guest laughed. "She's just playing mad scientist." Then someone yelled, "Get her out of here!" Security grabbed Arielle's arm. She winced. "I'm not here to scam anyone," she said through gritted teeth. "I just want my sister to see the world again. I figured out how. And your condition? It's the same pattern." Wallace hesitated. But the crowd roared. "Throw her out! She's faking it!" But Arielle's sketch was still in Lyle's hand, and his fingers were trembling. Outside in the rain-soaked alley behind the gala hall, Arielle sat on the curb, arms wrapped around her knees. Her soaked hoodie clung to her tiny frame. Inside, the music resumed, but not for everyone. Dr. Lyle Nguyen aced nervously near the gala's security desk. He couldn't stop looking at her diagram. The layout, the annotations, there was no way a child could fabricate this, unless she really had seen something no one else had. Back in the alley, the door creaked open. Lyle stepped out, holding an umbrella. "Why this condition?" he asked softly. "Why Wallace syndrome?" Arielle didn't look up. "Because my sister has it. She's only 16. I watched her world go dark piece by piece. The hospital said there's no cure. So I stayed up every night, reading whatever books I could steal, and I tested on her." Lyle froze. "Tested?" "I made eye drops from crushed ginger root, DMSO, and lidocaine. It stopped the inflammation. She can see color now." Lyle knelt, stunned. "That's insane, but it explains everything." He took out his phone. "You're coming back in with me." Arielle's eyes widened, but they laughed at me. "They won't now," he said, "because this time you'll be holding the mic." The ballroom dimmed. Guests gathered near the main stage where Henry Wallace sat, curious but skeptical. Dr. Lyle Nguyen stood beside him, holding the microphone and the wrinkled sketch Arielle had drawn. "Before we proceed," Lyle began, I need everyone here to know that this child, yes, child, is the author of a breakthrough that could restore vision in ways we've never dared to imagine." Whispers stirred, eyebrows raised. Then, slowly, Arielle walked in. No gown, no heels, just her torn hoodie, damp sneakers, and trembling hands. A man in the front row sneered. "Is this a science fair or a circus?" Wallace raised a hand. "Let her speak." Arielle stepped forward, voice quiet but steady. "You said I couldn't read," she began. "But I read pain. I read desperation. I read the color leaving my sister's eyes. And I fought to bring it back." She tapped the diagram projected on the screen. "Your condition is reversible if we bypass the damaged optic junction. This," she pointed, "is how." Wallace didn't speak, but his hands slowly removed his glasses. The room watched, breathless. Lyle whispered to a nurse. A tray of instruments appeared. Wallace nodded. "Proceed." Arielle looked him in the eye. "You may want to remember this moment." 12 minutes. That's how long the procedure lasted. A localized injection, a prototype stimulator patch Arielle had crafted from copper threads, magnets, and medical tape. Silence blanketed the gala like a heavy curtain. Then Henry Wallace blinked. Once, twice. His lips parted. I see." The chandelier above glittered in his pupils. His voice broke. I see light. I see her." He turned toward Arielle, who stood frozen, eyes brimming with tears. "I judged you by your skin, but you gave me back my world," he said, his voice shaking. He stepped down and hugged her in front of the stunned crowd. No applause, just stunned silence. Arielle's sister, Kendra, stepped in from the side entrance, tears rolling down her cheeks. Henry Wallace called for the mic. "From this day forward, $10 million will fund the Arielle Vision Lab, dedicated to young minds like hers. And Arielle Jackson is the first full scholarship recipient to the National Eye Institute." Reporters scrambled for footage, but Arielle didn't bask in it. She simply walked over to her sister, took her hand, and whispered, "Told you I'd find a way." And as they left the stage, Wallace removed his glasses, placed them on the podium, and said, "She made me see far more than just light." Thanks for watching this video. Arielle Jackson wasn't wearing a lab coat or holding a degree, but she held something more powerful: conviction, sacrifice, and the fire to make a difference. Her journey reminds us that brilliance knows no class, and dignity doesn't need permission to speak. If you believe in stories that uncover hidden genius and challenge injustice, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful racist stories like this one.